In today's video, I have a couple of interesting things to go over. Not too much, as we talked about yesterday, but we did see that coastal storm we were referring to yesterday trend way further west. So just as I kind of alluded to, we have seen a big shift in that storm. Models are still showing it, but it does look a lot more impactful now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean wintry, so keep that in mind as well as we walk through this. I don't want to give anybody the illusion that this is going to be some sort of massive snowstorm, 100% for the East Coast, nothing like that. But some people will see snowfall, likely, and some people will see a lot of rainfall, almost definitely. So let's go over things. There will be some colder times, but again, 2 videos ago, as we're referencing these past videos, it is going to be a warmer pattern. So even though it's a warmer pattern, does not mean there won't be cold days in there. So we're going to go over those cold times within a very warm period. So let's just walk through it. I want to take us through towards, even just this night into tomorrow, we can see that there is a lot of warmth here along the west. We're going to do an up arrow for that because first off, this warmth is surging to the north as it tends to do. But not only that, we are seeing a lot of sinking cold air into the eastern states as a result of this. All of this coming behind our big coastal storm that we just dealt with just a while ago. Still unseasonably cold in the deeper south as well, just not quite as potent, of course, as they're further south. Now, not much in the way of storminess. I want to take us towards tomorrow afternoon where things do fire up a little bit here across the 4 corner states in the southern plains, mostly in the form of snowfall actually for New Mexico, Colorado, portions of Utah and Arizona. This is pretty much our most exclusive precipitation that we have happening across the United States. Nothing really else happening for much anybody else. As we keep going towards Thursday, here on December 14th, we could see that there is still kind of this pocket of snowfall, pocket of rainfall, and then we have a small system featuring some snow and rain showers here in the northwest, but again, still much quieter. And now look, we have a lot of warmth surging eastward, and there is still some cold along the northeast coast here. I'm going to circle this area that's still remaining cold, but it is getting pushed from the southwest, and it's going to continue to get pushed. We can see by Friday, all of that cold air gets pushed out, Friday the 15th here. And really, the jet stream is doing something like this. Very zonal is what it's called, and it's really just moving from west to east in a very flat manner. The pattern that we're in is called a positive AO pattern. Arctic oscillation is what AO stands for, by the way. And I just want to zoom us out. I'm going a little bit off script here, but let's just go ahead and do it. Let's dive into things. We're going to have to actually look at it from this point of view. Actually, you know what? We're going to go ahead and dive straight into the temperatures here. I'm going way off script here, but you know what? I want to get my point across. So what we're seeing is, if I was to draw the Arctic Circle, and especially the area that matters, I'm actually going to just draw in the colder areas. The areas that matter the most are going to be your areas more on the United States side of things, for us at least. These areas aren't as relevant to us because usually we're not going to see cold air crossing the entire polar region. Usually this air here would be more likely to surge down into Asia and Europe here in certain spots. But that's not our concern here. I'm drawing way too much all over the screen. We're concerned about this here. These cold areas, because these are the areas that would eventually unleash into the United States and Canada as well. So these are our areas of concern. When we're in a positive AO, what that means is that there is more cold temperatures over the Arctic Circle. And we are seeing that here. There is some warmth, but mostly cold. And this actually continues quite a while. All the way through the pattern, we see a majority. And actually, it looks to get worse, as you can see. It's the full Arctic Circle at this point. This is a much better example. But this area is much cooler than normal overall. So we're seeing ice, snow, overall, all of this happening in this area and getting worse. So we're seeing ice and snow worsen. That means that the conditions over this area are getting more and more potently cold. What that's going to lead to is eventually when we get into positive AO, which it's likely to happen at some point between now and the end of winter, is this is just charging up. I used an analogy actually we were talking with a client in Prestige Weather, our other company that you can check out in the pinned comment and description. We do weather consulting, by the way. And I used this analogy to describe this. My analogy was that when we're in a positive AO, it's like a car filling up with fuel. The negative AO is when the car is driving using the fuel. So right now it's charging up here in the Arctic Circle. If we were to get in a positive or a negative AO, we would see this cold get unleashed outside of the Arctic Circle, as this area would be warming in a positive or a negative AO, sorry. And then we would see the cold get displaced from this area. So that area is getting warmer. We would see the cold have to be in the United States. Oftentimes we see Europe get involved, and then portions of Asia and Russia as well getting involved. There's where the cold would be. So I'm going to do a down arrow for all of these areas. So these are the areas that would be cooling, and then the Arctic Circle would be warming. The opposite is true in the case where we're seeing where this is negative. I'm going to do this because it's a lot easier. And we are seeing a lot of warmer areas as a result of this, mostly across Europe and portions of Russia, a majority of North America here. Also, some oceanic areas as well. So for the Pacific here, we're seeing some much warmer pockets. And then for a lot of the Atlantic and even in portions of Africa, we're seeing some warmer temperatures overall. This leaves smaller cool areas like Northern Africa, portions of Asia and Russia. Actually, that's just Asia. So that's pretty far away from the polar areas. But we're seeing a couple of some colder areas, but the majority here are warmer. We can tell a lot of the areas there in the northern hemisphere are warmer as a result of this outside of the Arctic Circle. So this is just to kind of give you guys some good news, is while we're warm here in the United States, things are worsening for potential conditions down the road and looking colder and snowier as a result of this Arctic Circle being in this state of charging and filling up with fuel for later on down the road. There is other circumstances, I'm kind of all over the place today, just like yesterday, where you would see something much more. I can't even show you because we don't have it here. This is a very classic positive AO pattern, warm from coast to coast, very common. If we were to see a negative AO, we could see all the cold in the west in a positive or a negative PNA type situation. And it would still be warm in the east, but we would not be benefiting from it for cold and snow lovers because the Arctic Circle isn't really charging during that time. It's actually unleashing, just not over us. But this isn't that type of circumstance. Nobody's benefiting right now, cold and snow lovers that is, or ski resorts or, snow removal companies, people that are hoping for snow. None of those people are benefiting right now, or they are benefiting right now, even though we're not seeing cold and snow. It's looking more potent down the road, I guess is the whole point. Now, obviously I went off script there. That was a little long-winded, but I hope that there was some information able to get across there. Let's go back to our regularly scheduled video as I just went crazy talking about that. We do get a little tiny storm system moving across the United States here with some rain showers with it, but it's not really a true cold front. We're not seeing much in the way of potent cold air as a result of this. We do eventually get this low in Canada, 1003 right here. And we get this coastal low here, 994, and this is going to want to track up the coast. Again, yesterday's model runs, this thing was way out here, but we're going to see it like 200 or 300 miles closer to the coast, probably 200 about, I would say. And right here we see that. The cold air dives in just too late. We do see enough cold air to support some snowfall in here, but what we see happen is this northern low takes over time, so this southern one transfers its energy here to the northern one, which really just skips a lot of what would happen in a storm that was moving from the bottom of the coast all the way to the top. If it transfers that energy straight to the top, we're skipping the whole middle portion of the storm's track. If we were to see this individual low pressure system here become the primary low and strengthen and move up the coast, we would be talking about much more opportunity for potential interior eastern snowfall and maybe even coastal snowfall. It's hard to say at this point, but as it stands with what models are currently showing, we have a 990 right here. We have snowfall for the mountainous regions of the Northeast, so I'm talking Catskills, Adirondacks, Green Mountains, White Mountains, and northern Maine. And really not too much else outside of that, just heavy rainfall and heavy winds. And then really the cold lifts off right away. So again, like we talked about yesterday, over the next 10 days, it is going to be warmer and it is going to be drier. But we see one storm and one day of cold, and they just happen to be lining up semi-close to each other, to the point where they might even mix entirely and create a snowy situation. So we're still tracking that possibility here on the channel, but really no more cold, no more storms outside of that singular event, which is very unique. Even looking at the total precipitation, we could tell there's some around average to slightly above average activity there along the west. This storm that stays relatively stationary over the southern plains and the four corner states brings some above average activity. And then this coastal system brings some above average activity here to the eastern seaboard. But really, this is actually surprising with how little activity we have in that model run. Total snowfall here, as you can see, is pretty minimalistic. Really, the only area with significant snowfall is this four corner states region, where we do get 10 to perhaps 20 inches of snowfall across the mountainous regions of Colorado and New Mexico. And then for the northeast, as far as this potential storm that we talked about today, I just want to zoom in and show you guys real quickly. We're talking maybe a dusting, if anything, here in the grays. We can see some numbers on screen. And then areas like the Adirondacks and areas near the Finger Lakes regions of New York, we're talking maybe 2 to perhaps 4 or 5 inches, which is minor for them, of course. Green Mountains is the same thing, about 2 to 5 inches. Again, also minor for them. And then here for kind of the White Mountains, north of the White Mountains, near the Berlin area there in New Hampshire, and then very far northern Maine there, we're talking around 2 to 5 in the blues, but we do see some purples in there, and that's indicative of about 6 to 10 inches of snowfall perhaps. So by no means is this a major snowfall yet. With some trends, we could see it move into that type of a direction, or we could see this kind of stay the same, or we could see it trend warmer. Really, anything is possible at this point, and I'm certainly looking forward to tracking this with you guys. I hope you guys are looking forward to it too. Be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day, and again, we will keep you guys up to date with this particular system. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.